Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head back to the motherland of Scotland once again, for the first time in what feels like a good long while. Now we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel quite a few times before. These guys are another relatively new addition to the Scottish beer scene, but they've built up a very good reputation for themselves, and if people were to ask me about this brewery, I would say that they're most definitely best known for their different kinds of sour beers, wild ales, whatever you want to call them. Now, the beer that we're going to have a look at today is a style that I have had from this brewery before. It's one that I know they can do pretty well, but it does have a few different adjuncts in it that I haven't tried in beers from this brewery before. So, needless to say, I think this one should be quite an interesting one to take a look at, so hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head back to the motherland of Scotland, like I said. We are going to go to the city of Dundee, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Holy Goat Brewing. So this particular beer is called Starhammer. It comes in at 6% ABV, and they're calling this one a tropical sour with Starfruit. So yeah, the main reason I picked up this one was because I don't think I've had like a more old school type sour beer with Starfruit in it, so I thought this one would be a really interesting test for the palate. But you know, we've had many good beers from Holy Goat over the last couple of years, and I just thought this one would be really interesting. This was part of their latest release through the bottle shops here in Hong Kong. If memory serves me correctly, I think I bought this one at Craftissimo over in Sheung Wan on Hong Kong Island. So big shout out to those guys there. I'll try to remember to put the link to their Facebook page in the video description below. But yeah, my first taste of a Holy Goat beer in what feels like a good little while. Let's crack on then and see what this beer is going to have in store for us. So, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Holy Goat Brewing before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the fairly near future. I do have a couple more bottles to have a look at from these guys, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Scottish playlist along with a number of other things. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, of course, and do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Holy Goat Brewing once again then. So, Holy Goat Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Dundee in Scotland, and the company was founded back in 2021 by Johnny Horn, who is one of the original co-founders of Vault City Brewing. So Johnny is originally from Wales, and he started experimenting with fermentation when he was about 15. So he later moved to Edinburgh to study for a PhD in archaeology, but he said he ended up reading more brewing textbooks than archaeology textbooks, and so things were only really going to go in one direction. But he ran the University Brewing Society, and he worked at Brew Store before he got a job brewing part-time at the Hanging Bat on Lothian Road in Edinburgh, and it was there that he started to experiment with different sour beers and wild ales, starting in about 2012. But during his time at Hanging Bat, he met Stephen Smith Hay, who was also interested in setting up his own brewery, and they were soon joined by his partner Adele Wilkie, and together they established Vault City Brewing. But initially they didn't think so much about making money, they just wanted to be experimental and kind of have fun doing it. So they set up what they called a glorified home brewing kit as their brewery in Stephen and Adele's kitchen, and they began brewing weekly back in July of 2018. But over the following year they began visiting a few different beer festivals and spread the word about their beers, and they started brewing their beers at 71 Brewing in Dundee, and in total Vault City spent about 16 months there. But Vault City were in the process of setting up their own brewery in Portobello, but Johnny really enjoyed the time in Dundee, and he decided that he wanted to do his own thing, and it was at this point in 2021 that he officially founded Holy Goat. So he says that the new business model allows him to go back to being very experimental, but also maintain profitability. So the main kind of creative difference, if you like, between Vault City and Holy Goat was that Johnny wanted to brew lots of different types of sour beer, whereas the guys at Vault City wanted to kind of have a base beer and sort of focus on messing around with the base beer, if you like. So that's the kind of two different approaches that you've got there. But you know, in Scotland now we have two very good sour beer breweries, so we can't really complain. But these guys, as I say, have been really successful over the last couple of years. They've built up a very good reputation for themselves, particularly for these sour beers. But occasionally you will find the odd like Imperial Stout and things like that from them as well. So they are experimenting and doing a few different things. But yeah, as of September 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 85 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and that number will no doubt continue to increase as time goes on. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Holy Goat Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on then and have a little look at the beer itself. So I'll just let you have a wee look at the artwork on this one before we open up. I have to say I do like the skull on this one, the Starhammer. But yeah, I think that is pretty cool. I always like the Holy Goat artwork. It's kind of like, it reminds me of the old Iron Maiden covers from the 80s, you know, Caught Somewhere in Time and the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. It kind of reminds me of that. But plain black top on the bottle there, and it tells you a wee bit about the beer on the side here. This is a 375 milliliter bottle, incidentally. But it says, primary fermented with a blend of Brettanomyces, which produces huge tropical and stone fruit flavours. We fermented this base beer with an equivalent of 220 grams per litre of Starfruit, also known as carambola. This Southeast Asian fruit is notable for its star-shaped cross-section and has flavour descriptions which include pear, apple, grape and citrus. The sweet and sour balance of this fruit provides a fine complement to our most tropical house culture. So yeah, this should be quite good, I have to say. You know, you always get a good beer from Holy Goat. But yeah, let's get this guy out into the glass then and see what it's all about. The Starhammer from the wonderful Holy Goat Brewing in Dundee, Scotland, my motherland. So let's see what we have. Nice little bit of smoke on the opening there, and we'll get it out and into the glass. So there we go, look at that. That looks very nice. Only a little bit of sediment left at the bottom of the bottle there too, so it looks good. Anyway, so you can see that this beer has poured with just about a finger of a frothy, I would say, cream coloured head. It's not perfect white, but you can see the bubbles on this look very, very nice. I think they've got a very good pour out of that. You can see the smaller bubbles on the surface, and then it just stays foamy all the way up to the top of the head here. But overall, it looks very, very nice, this one. If you shine the light through this beer, I would say that it's a kind of, yeah, light to medium amber, I think is fair to describe this one. But it looks good. This beer also has oats in it, incidentally, and wheat, which might account for some of the kind of haziness in the beer. So yeah, remember the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. But that can vary from, you know, that can vary quite a little bit, and that's quite an important factor when it comes to sour beers and wild ales like this one. But yeah, like I say, the level of haze in this beer, it's probably unfiltered, of course, this one, and then the oats and the wheat, of course, will give you that little bit more haziness as well. But all in all, if I was told I was getting a Starfruit sour, I'd probably expect something along these lines in terms of the colour. But it looks good. One or two big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there, but you can see that head has just faded away to be a nice kind of thinner, more foamy layer, and you've just got that thicker ring around the edge of the glass there too. But all in all, this beer looks pretty much as I would expect from a Holy Goat sour, you know, a more old school type sour beer rather than the modern kind of fruity smoothie sours, if you like. But yeah, not really surprised about the appearance of this one. It looks good. I think we can leave it at that for the appearance section. Let's go on and have a wee look at the aroma of this beer and see what it has for us. So, sugar it up a little bit. Oh yeah, that smells very, very nice actually. Yeah. It's quite an interesting one because it's got a lot of like breadiness to it. And it actually smells like, you know, if you think about like the skin that you pull off an orange or something like that, it doesn't smell like orange, but it has that similar aroma that the actual white stuff inside the orange skin has. Or you know, if you like scoop out a mango and eat the inside, like the skin, if you smell the skin at the end, the beer kind of smells a little bit like that, in all honesty. So that's a really interesting aroma, I would say. Yeah, so for me, the fruity side of things is great actually. This is a really interesting beer. I can't think of if I've had one that smelled like this for quite some time actually. But yeah, you can smell all the woody, crackery sort of things you expect of a kind of Brettanomyces beer, but you've just got this big breadiness and sort of fruit skin type thing to it as well. So yeah, let's just break that down and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth. So if you take the aroma in nice and deeply, you've got that little bit of like fresh white bready bread crust in there. So yeah, the way that that goes together is really nice. Fresh white bready bread crust. You do get a little hint of like woodiness out of the beer as well, and like I said, there's quite the woodiness I think builds the more that you smell of this thing. So yeah, you've got that woodiness in there, a little bit of fresh white bready bread crust. Wee bit of Jacob's cream cracker as well, like I said. So yeah, bread crust, bit of woodiness, Jacob's cream cracker. There is a little bit of that, of a sort of sweeter white bread in this one as well. And you can smell the slightly more dense white bread too, which I think is going to be the wheaty character. And maybe at the back of the nose there's a very slight bitiness out of the wheat, which is interesting. But on top of that, you can definitely smell that sort of fruit skin type note that I was talking about. That's really, really obvious in this one. So above the kind of more dense, wheaty, white bready character, you've got that sort of, you've got that more dense, white bready, wheaty note, and then you've got that fruit skin, that fruit pulpy kind of note out of it. It's really interesting, that. But yeah, you can smell a little bit of the sweetness from the oats in the middle of the nose too. There's maybe like a little hint of a kind of Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch and a wee bit of a kind of biscuity note to this one. But yeah, the way it goes together is really, really nice in that sense. Yeah, I really do like how all of that pieces together in this particular beer. So, quite happy with that, I have to say. Yeah, I don't know if there's too much else to say about the kind of malty side of things, to be honest. At the back of the nose, you do of course start to get more of the yeasty characteristics out of the beer. So for me, the yeasty side of things, it's like a little bit more like a kind of, I don't know if it's right to say sourdough, but it's a bit more like a kind of farmhousey, crackery, woody, rusticy sort of white bread. So yeah, the way that that pieces together, I think, is really nice in this one too. So yeah, a little bit of a kind of crackery, woody, white bready character. Crackery, woody, white bread. A wee bit of kind of brown bready character to it as well. So yeah, the way that that goes together is really nice. So yeah, the malty and yeasty side of this beer, I think, is really quite interesting. So let's go on to the hoppy side of things then. So as I've explained in many a sour beer review before, there are a few different things to think about when hopping sour beers. So what they used to do back in the old days with the lambics and the Flanders Reds and stuff like this is that they would use older hops that had lost a little bit of their alpha acid potency, because they wanted the complexity and a little bit of the flavour that the hops bring in the beer, but they didn't want it to detract from the overall sourness of the beer. With modern sour beers, a lot of breweries say that when you add fruit into beer as an adjunct, it's going to suppress the green component anyway. So yeah, it's going to suppress the green component. It's going to suppress the green component of the beer. So a lot of these breweries say, "Oh, you don't need to add hops into the beer." So yeah, you've got a few different things to think about there. It's always interesting to think about sour beer breweries and how they hop their beers, to ask them about their hopping mentality. So yeah, you can see that, and you can kind of see that a little bit in the Holy Goat beers. They like to use hops in their beers to just give you that little bit more complexity, and you can certainly smell that with this one. You do have a really nice bit of green component to this one. There's a very slight smooth earthiness in there. I think it's most likely that this beer will be using maybe one of the German noble hops, one of the slightly higher alpha acid ones, because it has that lovely smooth earthiness that you would associate with the likes of Hallertau or Tet Nang or something like that. There's a little bit of woodiness in there, a wee bit of floral aromaticity, and you can get a wee bit of the more zesty grassiness at the front of the nose too. So yeah, all in all, the way that this goes together in that regard, I think, is very, very nice. So for me, the green component is there, but of course the sharpness of the Brettanomyces and things, kind of takes over a little bit in this one. So that's really interesting for me. So yeah, you can smell the fruity adjunct, the starfruit, and that sort of fruit skin type thing is pushing back on the green component in the aroma here, and then the sharpness of the Brettanomyces is starting to kind of take over a wee bit. So yeah, as they're kind of saying on the bottle with this one, on the label, you do have a few things going on with the beer. Like, it's got, I can definitely get the pear comes out of it. I don't know about grape right enough, but certainly there's that sharper citricy note from the Brettanomyces itself. They're saying pear, apple, grape and citrus. Okay. The starfruit for me is like quite sharp and quite juicy in a sense, but like I say, I get lots of that kind of fruit skin type character coming out of this one. So it's really interesting, as I say, how that pieces together in the beer. So lots and lots of stuff going on with this one. You can just feel how it all merges together. But yeah, the starfruit's given like pear, sharper citrus, sultanas, stuff like that. It's really interesting how that all just kind of pieces together actually. So yeah, quite a unique aroma this one, I have to say, even when I think about the other stuff that I've had from Holy Goat before. It's been a wee while, I think, since I've had a more kind of golden or yellow sour from these guys, come to think of it. So as I always say, take a little bit of time to just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it, but I think it is about time for us to try this one and see what it's all about. So yeah, this one is the Starhammer, a 6% sour beer, I guess we could say, wild ale, whatever, with 220 grams per litre of starfruit, and brewed with Brettanomyces from Holy Goat Brewing in Dundee, back in my motherland of Scotland. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Ooh, that's nice. I will say that. With these sour beers, it always takes your mouth just a wee bit of time to kind of adjust when you first take them in, but that is really, really nice. That's very, very good beer. But I know Holy Goat fairly well these days, so yeah, not surprised, really not surprised with this one. This is great. So yeah, this one, it's so smooth. The thing I always look for in a sour beer is how good is the transition, because they always come in with this little bit of sharpness, and you want one that mellows out really nicely, and this beer absolutely does that. This is really, really damn good. So again, big thumbs up to the guys at Holy Goat for this beer. They've pulled it off really nicely once again. So yeah, where do we start with this one? So for me, it's so nice. Like, it's a little bit more grainy and like rusticy, farmhousey than some of the other Holy Goats that I remember. But let's do as we always do. We'll go through the palette and break the thing down and describe it for you more in depth. So yeah. So middle third of your palette then. The backbone of the beer. You've got that lovely kind of fresh white bready bread crust forming the backbone there. As you move further forward along that, you've got a nice little bit of woodiness there further forward in the palette. So yeah, nice kind of fresh white bready bread crust there, a little touch of woodiness. And then yeah, on top of that, you have the kind of Jacob's cream cracker sort of character of this one. It's very, very soft bread crusty character that you get out of this one, but it does give you that little bit of dryness as you go into the aftertaste. On top of that though, you start to get the bread, so I would say there's like a little thinner layer of a kind of wholemeal brown bready character there, but then as you go above that, you start to get a fluffier, more airy white bready character out of this one, and that white bready note actually lingers into the aftertaste quite a bit, and it just gives you that little touch of dryness. That's a really nice feature of this beer, I would say, so I really like that with this one. So, for me, above that kind of white bready character, you can feel an even denser. You can feel a more dense white bready character there, and that's obviously the wheat that's going to give you that. So yeah, really dense, wheaty white bready character coming out of this one. So yeah, the dense, wheaty white bready character that comes out of this beer is nice. And it's a very smooth wheat actually. I thought it was going to have a little bit of bitiness just from how it was coming across in the aroma, but it's actually very, very smooth. Then above that, you start to get the oatiness. So as you go down that middle line of your palate, you can feel that slightly creamy oaty character there. And just as you go out toward the edges, it becomes a little bit more kind of dry and slightly porridgey in a sense. But in the dead centre of your palate, you can feel that little bit of like Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch coming out of the beer, and there's a wee bit of biscuit surrounding that, McVitie's digestive biscuit. But that is of course the kind of biscuity side of the beer, I would say. So yeah, that's the alcohol part of the beer coming out, I should say. Sorry, yes, you've got that biscuity side of the beer. Then the sort of Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch thing is more of a kind of biscuity character, I would say. So yeah, not too much booziness in this one, but it's 6% ABV. You wouldn't expect that, in all honesty. So yeah, I really like how this one goes together. It's just such a nice, enjoyable beer, and you always get that from Holy Goat as well. You know when you buy one of these beers, it's going to turn out really nicely. So yeah, let's leave the middle third of your palate then. I think we've said everything we need to. Let's go to the back third of your palate. And as I've often said, the sweeter flavours on your palate tend to come out further forward on your palate. The more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. And the back third of your palate is going to give you very similar. It is going to give you very similar characteristics to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. But yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. So you can feel the kind of brown bread in the base, the white bread on the top, and maybe just a little touch of the wheaty character sitting on top of it there. But the base of the back third of your palate, you've got that nice kind of soft bread crusty character in there. You've got the nice kind of Jacob's cream crackery note sitting above that. Then you've got the brown bready layer, which was a little bit lighter, taller, and more airy. Then you've got the white bready layer, which again feels a little bit lighter, taller, and more airy. Pardon me. And then above that, you've got the wheaty kind of layer coming out of this one. So you've got that more dense white bready character there. The wheat is actually still very smooth, but it just has a little bit more kind of dryness to it in a sense. I think that's right to say. But then on top of everything else, you have the yeasty character of the beer coming out. So let's just have a wee look at those yeasty flavours then. So, the yeasty side of this beer, for me, at its core, like it's a slightly sweeter white bread, and then around the edge, it has a little bit more of a kind of soft, airy, white bready character to it. So yeah, more dense, sweet white bready note at the side, a more airy white bread around the edge, and then it's got like a very soft, crackery, white bready bread crust. So yeah, the yeasty character in this one, I think, is really quite nice. I think at that we've covered everything about the malty and yeasty side of the beer, but definitely, yeah, the flavour is taller on the back third of your palate, and as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way that all of that pieces together, I think, is really, really nice. Yeah, so on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you do have that little bit of earthiness there in the green component, and as you move further forward, it gets a little bit more woody, and the further forward along the sides of your palate that you go, the more kind of woody it gets. But yeah, as you push further and further forward, you start to get little bits of floral aromaticity on the front corners of your tongue, and then round the front curve of your palate, it just gets that little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. So yeah, the way that that kind of pieces together, I think, is really, really nice. Yeah, green component on this one, it sits there, but obviously you've got the Starfruit kind of pushing against that. And as I said, when you add fruit into beer as an adjunct, it's always going to suppress a little bit of your green component. So you can feel the Starfruit just pushing against the sides of your palate there too, which is just quite nice, I have to say. But yeah, let's have a wee look at the front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of things and the sour side of things. So yeah, for me, the border region, between front third and middle third of your palate, again you get a little bit of that bready build up in there, brown bread, white bread, and a wee bit of the more wheaty, dense white bread. The base of that front third of your palate, it's got a little bit more, yeah, you can feel the bread crust is there, the cracker, bit of woodiness within all of that though. Brown bready character, the white bready character, the smooth wheaty notes, and then above all of that you have, you've got the nice fruity side of things coming out of this one. So yeah, the way that that goes together, I think, is really nice. So when we talk about a sour beer, we do have to talk about impact flavours. So when you take this beer in, the sharper side of things, you can really feel that, you can feel when you take the beer in, the sharper bit just comes in right behind the very front tip of the tongue. Then it just mellows out across the whole front of your palate. But yeah, this beer, as I say, the impact of this one, it's not the sharpest sour beer I've come across, it's just really, really nice actually. But yeah, the beer itself, when we talk about the flavour of Starfruit, obviously, because a lot of people are not familiar with this, and me included, the Starfruit, like the actual flavours I'm getting out at the front of the palate here, it's like a little bit of a soft passion fruit, like papayas, apricots and stuff like this, and it feels it's that really kind of soft nature that it has. So that's kind of sitting on top of the malty side of things, with the that really is sitting on top of the malty side of things with this beer. So yeah, the way that that goes together is really, really interesting. On top of that, you can get little bits of more oily pear, a sharper sort of lemony lime citrus further forward. But yeah, the front third of your palate, yeah, it's like passion fruit, apricot, papaya, that kind of thing, and then yeah, a wee bit of oily pear sitting on top of it and a sharper citrus. I could definitely see some green apple. Green apple is a good descriptor for what's going on the front third of your palate here as well. But the thing that's very curious for me with this beer is I'd be curious to know how much of the flavour is coming from the fruit. Like, I think the Starfruit itself is showing you more what's going on into the aftertaste, but you also have the like some of the fruity character is obviously coming from the house yeast that's in this one. So I'd love to know where the kind of separation is in this beer between those two different components. But regardless, this is a beautiful, beautiful beer from Holy Goat once again. Not surprised, just pretty damn impressed. So yeah, this is definitely worth a try if you come across this one, absolutely. So yeah, let's round off this review then with a wee look at the mouthfeel. For me, this beer, kind of mid-range of what you'd expect from a sour beer. I always find the mouthfeel of sour beers is just that little bit lighter. So yeah, kind of mid-bodied. The carbonation does have a wee bit of crispness to it, as that typical cleanliness, you know, Scottish water and so on. But there's a nice kind of smoothness to this one as well, probably due to the presence of the wheat and the oat, and it gives you that wee bit of lingering dryness into the aftertaste as well. Your IBU count on this beer is probably like 10 or something like that. Very, very low IBU count. But your malt base, there's a bit of dryness underneath, smoothness in the middle, smoothness again on top, but a slightly dry, lingering sweetness there. The fruity side of this one, the sharpness of the beer, it doesn't have such a big impact hit, if you like, but yeah, there is that wee bit of sharpness there, and a nice more kind of mellow oiliness coming out of it too. So yeah, the way that it all goes together in this one, I think, is a very, very nice beer, and I would highly recommend that you have a try of this one and see what you think. So another very, very solid sour beer from the wonderful Holy Goat Brewing in Dundee, Tayside, Scotland. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this one. Been very, very impressed with this once again. So thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Holy Goat Brewing as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. But until then, check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll catch you guys in the next review. Slàinte, Skål, and cheers. Getting a bit of gas there.